September 26th of this 2017. Roll call. All councils are present except Councilor Peruzzotti, and I believe she'll be here any second. Anybody have any calendar or communications? Anybody? Karen?
I just wanted to report that I attended the City Council meeting on September 18th, which was, I think, last Thursday, maybe. And the big item of business that evening was the City Ethics Board presented their report regarding the CMEEC investigation that they did, and the council accepted all of the recommendations for that that the Ethics Board made, and they approved those. And the other item was there was several public comments that were made regarding the Charter Revision Commission and the fact that there's going to be a public hearing, and the speakers urged city residents to turn out in force. Apparently there's some big concern that it's going to minimize their representation, some of the provisions, and particularly the elimination of the RTM. They feel that that's going to cause the city not to have the same level of representation that they've had up till now. And the other item was there was a report that they had met, someone from the city had met with people at the subbase regarding the fact that there might be a BRAC situation again, and they had been advised that no one at the base has had any communication from Washington about any danger of there being another BRAC session, and they feel that Groton is okay, at least for the foreseeable future. So that was good to hear.
Thank you, Karen. Anybody else?
Yep, I do.
Bonnie and then Rich.
I went to the State of Groton and the State of Ledyard chamber lunch, where we heard the town manager and the mayor speak, and Keith Hedrick, and was very well attended and great job. Also attended the chamber breakfast on the Pfizer update, which was very interesting. A lot of really good information and a lot of info about what's going on over at Pfizer. And I also attended the newscast that Senator Blumenthal put on about BRAC.
Thank you. Rich?
Yeah, on the 18th, I attended the USS Groton Sail meeting. On the 20th, I attended the SEAT meeting. And last night, I attended the Board of Education meeting.
Thank you. I made a couple of things for people. Tomorrow at Wednesday from 4:30 to 7:30 at the Submarine Force Library and Museum, there is the Subbase New London Joint Land Use Study third and final public open house. We encourage all constituents to go down there. The draft joint land use study provides measures intended to support a healthy economy, environment, and community while safeguarding the military mission. And they've been working quite a bit on this, and this is the third and final one. And the consultant team will be present during the open house, and they'll be presenting. And between presentations, the team will be available to answer questions and take comments on the draft. Draft strategies include coordinating planning efforts in areas of potential concern, improving transportation options to the subbase and electric boat, establishing agreements around future coordination and communication between municipalities and the subbase, and researching best practices around cost-sharing agreements to fund local school districts. That's the first thing. The next thing was that we've talked a little bit at council about the fly-in event, the AOPA fly-in event, October 6th and 7th at the Groton Airport, and they are seeking volunteers. And if you go to www.aopa.org/community/events, you will find information about volunteering, and they need a lot of volunteers. And the last thing was, I Love Puerto Rico. There's a collection for the victims of Hurricane Maria in Puerto Rico, October 2nd to the 6th. Donations can be dropped off at Grasso Tech. Items needed, baby items, Pampers, wipes, baby food. First aid items, hydrogen peroxide, bandages, first aid kits, any type of over-the-counter medicines, Tylenol, Advil, Pepto-Bismol, lotions and sunscreens, hand sanitizer, shampoos, soaps, Kleenex, toilet paper, paper towels, canned goods, non-perishable foods, bottled water, feminine hygiene products, toothpaste, toothbrushes, toiletries, candles, batteries, flashlights, insect repellent, and tarps. And it will be donated to Centro de la Comunidad for delivery to Puerto Rico. And as everyone knows, it got hit very hard down there. And
Twice.
I'm sorry?
Twice.
Twice. So people can rally around. I'm sure they will buy
I
it.
forgot one more thing. Tomorrow night is a fundraiser at the library, for the library at the engine room from 6:30 to 9:30 for the Mystic Knowing Public Library, if anybody wants to attend. Should be a
Very
good
good.
event.
Yes,
I
Steve?
forgot something. It's a communication. I've spoken with a couple of members of the fire districts. And you'll recall that we did have an issue. We were trying to ask the fire districts if any of them were interested, because some of them had expressed interest in using the old SCARA building next to the transfer station for practice, for drills, for training. And I think we're at a point where, other than the city and I think perhaps another fire district, all the rest of them have an interest. I think it's a question of somebody brokering the conversation between the fire districts and public works and making that happen. I just wanted to report that I have had these conversations.
Okay.
So,
Thank you. Approval of the minutes. Someone like to move the minutes?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing that, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? That passes 9 to 0 to 0. Is there any unfinished business? All right, we'll move on to new business. The first item is 2017-0211, presentation by the town's actuary with a potential executive session. We have Tim Breyer here, an actuarial with Hooker and Holcomb, something like that.
Holcomb.
And he's going to be presenting options on retirement for new employees. We have a defined benefit plan, and then we're going to look at information about defined contribution plan, like similar to a 401k and a hybrid plan of the two. So are we going to, John, we're going to go into executive session for this?
For the actual presentation, exactly what you, yes, need to move, yeah, should have a motion in.
Okay. Where's the, let's see. Is the motion in the packet?
I just dropped it separately in your spot. I've got a backup copy.
Oh, hold on. All right, thank you.
Have it memorized.
I hereby move that the members of the Town Council Committee of the Whole, along with Town Manager John Burt, Human Resources Director Robert Zagami, Town Attorney Eileen Duggan, and Consulting Actuary Timothy Ryder, go into executive session for the purpose of discussing strategy and/or negotiations with respect to collective bargaining and retirement benefit negotiations with multiple bargaining units. This action is taken without prejudice to the committee's right to discuss these matters in a private meeting pursuant to Connecticut General Statute, Section 1-200, parentheses 2. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? I just have one question. So the information that Tim's going to present, is that is, yeah.
Specifically related to developing strategies for what we might choose to do with our unions and how we might choose to pursue negotiations with them. So I do believe it's appropriate at this point to have that discussion in executive session.
Okay. And is there any way to differentiate between the presentation and the discussion, or is it?
I think it's very difficult at this point to differentiate between them because you're going to be provided with some options and strategies as to what you might want to recommend for us to go and do in collective bargaining. So you might say, we want you to pursue path A, hold path B as a backup, but we really don't want to disclose that necessarily right now to everyone who might be negotiating.
Okay. Anybody else? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? That passes 9 to 0 to 0. Hi, Cindy.
Hello.
How are you?
How are all of you?
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
So we budgeted for this, correct? Yes.
Yes, we did. As you know, when we put the 2018 budget together, we only had one union contract that had been settled that allowed us to put the wage increases into the 18 budget. And we had increased contingency, knowing that we would likely have contracts that would be settled throughout the year and we would have to transfer into the department's budgets. So now I'm coming to you tonight with, we have 5 groups now. I apologize. We had 5 groups that did not have the wages included in their 2018 budgets. So now the CILU clerical, the AFSCME supervisors, and wage adjustments for the non-union have been previously approved by the council. And we also have included in the contingency transfer is a increase to the budgeted salary for the town manager and contractual obligations that were not included in the 2018 budget. So I have, pardon me?
Yeah.
He's not really.
So the amount of the transfer to all the departments is $298,123. We did budget $650,000 in contingency this year, and will leave us a balance of $351,877. We still have pending the PBA contract and the steelworkers contract that have yet to be negotiated.
Okay. Anybody have any questions? Harry?
I'm going to move we approve the transfers as recommended and refer to the RTM.
Second.
Could I add one thing? I would like to ask if you could refer this to the RTM under 653. My hope is to get these into the budget so it's part of the 19 budget. And if it goes to the RTM 653, I'm hoping that they will be act on it at their October meeting.
You mean part of the 18 budget, right? You said 19, part of the 18.
Well, we put it in the 18, but right now, if I don't get the transfers are not approved to allow me to put them into the budgets for 18, when we create the 19 budget,
Gotcha.
they won't be there.
Okay, sorry.
So I'd like to have the adjusted budgets to include these transfers. But it does require
Okay,
RTM approval.
that would be part of my motion then.
Yes, 653 to the RTM.
We have a motion and a second, Bonnie?
I just have a question. So the increase to the budget for our new town and the moving wasn't budgeted?
No, it was not. When we're putting the 18 budget together, a salary was set for the town manager's position, and we need to increase that for the,
Okay. And the raise that we gave to the former town manager, was that budgeted? Is that included in this?
No, that is not. That was paid in the 17 budget.
Okay. That's my question.
Any other questions? We have a motion and a second. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? That passes 9 to 0 to 0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next is 2017-0214, modification of retirement plan for non-union police officers. John?
We did that.
We talked about this briefly in the past. We have 3 non-union police officer positions. The union positions get up to $20,000 worth of overtime to count towards their wage going into the factoring of the retirement, whereas the non-union police officers get $3,000, basically up to $6,000, $3,000 wage, $3,000 for education. And what's happening is it's no longer really worthwhile taking the next step out of the union to become a captain. So looking at doing something to bump up those 3 positions, the amounts for that can be added on to the wage. Requested is ideally $15,000, but obviously subject to negotiation. It's my own recommendation.
Are you looking for us to act on this tonight, John, or just discuss it?
I'd like to see a recommendation to the council. That's what I'm hoping for.
So you're looking for us to vote on something tonight to...
That's the hope, right?
Okay. Does anybody have any questions? Go ahead, Karen.
I'll make a motion that we modify the retirement plan for non-union police officers to change the amount that's added into the pension calculation and add an additional $15,000.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second.
Not change to 15,000, not adding 15,000, because currently
Oh,
they're getting up to
changed,
like
all
6,000.
right, change,
So, right. it really
change
was
the
like
amount
9,000.
to 15,000.
Okay.
Specifically on, say that again?
I believe it's specifically for the overtime
Right.
portion of
They
it.
still
Okay.
get the sick on the other side like the union.
Right.
But this is just dealing with that,
Right.
So can-
6,000,
Right.
3,000.
Can we have, Bonnie, can you withdraw, and Karen, you withdraw and do the motion again, just so we have it correct?
Read what I had earlier. I will withdraw my second.
We need to go back in executive session and discuss this.
No, we don't need to do
So, go ahead, Harry.
Maybe we could move on to the next item, and somebody could write a proposed resolution for us to consider after we talk about the next item.
That's good. Karen, would you mind withdrawing?
Yes, I
Okay.
will withdraw.
Thank you. So we will move on to, thanks, Harry. We will move on to 2017-0210, Department of Transportation easement, Route 1, NewTown Road. And as to our packet, that basically, Department of Transportation has requested an easement approximately 29 feet by 7 feet along Route 1, south of the junction with NewTown Road, to place a pedestrian walk signal. The town will be paid the standard $500 for the easement. In the packet is a letter from the Department of Transportation saying such.
that. It's over here.
And there's a picture of the location in the packet. And there is a resolution. Deb, could you read the resolution?
Resolution approving an easement at Fore Hill Road, Route 1, in the vicinity of NewTown Road for the Connecticut Department of Transportation. It is an easement for installation of a traffic signal device apparatus, whereas the DOT has offered the town $500 in exchange for the easement rights. Whereas the Town of Public Works Department will recommend that the Town Council grant the easement. Now therefore be it resolved that the Town Council authorizes the Town Manager to sign and process paperwork necessary. So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on this? Yes. Dean?
Now, we've talked in the past, that strip that goes by the library that we rent apparently for some to be able to put up a sign. You know the road that I'm talking about?
Yes.
The entrance into the senior center and the
Where we were
library? It turns out that
considering
that's part of the town's right-of-way. And there was discussion before about possibly offering the state something so we could just buy that strip outright.
The strip you're talking about was one of the proposed sites to put the sail from the Groton submarine.
Right along Newtown?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I was going to say, maybe they give us that and we'll give them, we'll give them this.
Give you the $500 back.
Well, our last town manager seemed to be, if that was our proposal, he didn't seem to think that would be a problem from the state to be able to do that.
Anything you want to add about this, John?
No, I know they need to get this part in place pretty quick to do their work.
Okay.
I'd like to learn more about what the other issue is, and I can certainly pursue it.
Good. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? That passes 9-0 to 0. 2017-0212, filling the Office Assistant 2 assessment position in the Finance Department. Cindy?
Just to remind everybody, we put in a process for hiring freeze where Bob first reviews the request to fill the position, and then the council and I both have to sign off on filling it. Right. And then so you see in your packet that the request from Cindy detailing it.
This is a position that sits at the front desk of the assessment division that I had promoted Lori Watrous, who held that position, into leadership for finance. So now I have a vacancy there. And she does cover the front line. She's the first, or that position is the first line for the counter contact, the emails, the phones, and she does a lot of the clerical work in that. I've provided you with a list of all of the duties that she does. or she did, or that position had handled in the past. And if that position is not filled and allowed to do the clerical and that first line of support, what happens is we have the trickle-down effect, and that's what's happening now, is I have the assessor sitting out at the counter or the assistant assessor, and they're not being able to get their work done that's related to processing the grand list. We're just now getting ready to send out all the personal property declarations that go to every business so that they can provide us what they own for personal property, that we can add it to the grand list. This position is responsible for logging them in and recording them, among other duties that she does. I really feel that this position is needed in that department. And
Do you know what the salary is?
I'm sorry, I did not bring that with me.
I think Dean's going to tell us.
Well, yeah, I pulled the latest one that we have in there is the fiscal year 2015. I just wanted to get an idea of the range. I'm sure since that budget to this budget, it hasn't changed dramatically.
Yeah.
I want to make a comment. I go in there all the time because of my job and worked with Lori. Not only is it an important job, but it's tremendously poor PR for the town if you go in there and you can't get help. So
I will say that...
I would support this.
I apologize. I will say that since Lori has transitioned over to the leadership division, there have been several instances where there have been people backlogged at that counter. And you'll know, usually when people are coming to the counter, they have a problem or they want, they want immediate help.
And they're just cranky.
Yes, they do. And it's not only the cranky people, it's a lot of the elderly. She takes care of, handling the veterans exemptions or the elderly applications. She handles that, or that position handles that too. It's a lot of customer contact.
Financial assistant to...
It's an office
50.
assistant too.
Office assistant to?
It's
43.
No.
I'm sorry, 46,392 in 2016.
Is that the adopted?
Yeah, in 2016.
Okay.
Is that
I've got
hourly
the
union?
proposed.
Yes, that's part of the CIL union's
I have
hourly
this hourly
position.
union list, would that help you?
Close enough.
Does it have a salary in it?
It has starting hourly rate
What's the starting hourly rate?
for office assistant 2.
It's an hourly position.
$22.11.
Starting at $22.11, that's
So
probably about right.
2211 times 40.
No, 35.
46.
Can we?
Yeah, of course.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the office assistant to, as an exception to the hiring freeze.
I'll second that.
We have a motion in a second. Is there further discussion?
I mean, something that Bonnie supports it?
She's seen it firsthand.
Thanks.
Karen?
Well, I would just comment that this is, after all, the office that makes the town money. So I think this is definitely a vital position, so I'm happy to support it.
All right, if there's no further discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? That passes 9-0.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you. So John, are they writing a...
We're writing a resolution right now.
Okay.
And then
As
we
we
discuss
speak.
the tip before we get ready for the tip.
Yeah, yep. Can we go to other business and then go back? Can we? All right, we'll go to other business. Yes.
Mayor Flax, I would like a referral to the
Personnel and Appointments Committee, and I have it written down here. I spent a lot of time talking with our Park and Recs director and many other people about a proposed Little League tournament in the town of Groton, and I would like a referral so we can talk about it in our committee and also invite a couple of members of the Park and Rec Commission to come in and chat about it.
Terrific, thank you.
So, here's my
All right,
referral.
thank you. So accepted.
Thanks.
Bonnie and then Greg.
I have two things. One, I would like to bring up the issue that came up today on the paying for the council to go to the
Martin Luther King Jr. dinner?
King dinner.
Mhm.
Because I don't think, in light of the fact that we're putting a hiring freeze on the town, that we should get, not only to the dinners like that, but also to the CCM leadership that's coming up. I think if we want to attend those things, we should pay for it ourselves. And then the other item I would like to bring up is I would like to have the people who are working on the submarine sale come give a presentation to us.
I think we've already made that. We've already made that request.
Okay. Okay.
So, Dean?
I'd like to make a referral to the Rules Committee. The town manager, believe it or not, the town manager has suggested some tweaks to the agenda. I think he's referred to them before, to include presentations by department heads. So I'd like to convene with Councilor Watson and Councilor Grimm, who I believe we're all members of the Rules Committee. I'd like a referral to the Rules Committee just to, like I said, to tweak the agenda in that respect.
Okay, thank you. Just before we go to that one, with regards to the MLK dinner, I don't have a problem paying them in. I want to go. I represent the town. I don't know if anybody else wants to go. It's a week from Thursday, but
Wow, here again already.
yeah. Nikki, has the town always paid, or were there times when councilors paid as well that you can recall?
We've had for many years, certainly longer than I've worked in the department, had a line item in the budget. Mostly, it's looked at as a donation to the Scholarship Trust Fund. And then those are the fees or the funds that we use to send counselors to the dinner.
Okay. And 1 second, Bonnie, are you saying that if the budget outcome for the town is whatever you think it should, whatever would be acceptable, are you saying here and for now ever?
No, not here and for now, Robert. Just given
So
the
if
light, we've got a hiring freeze on.
Yep, no, I'm not
I
saying
just
I'm
think
having a
until we
discussion
know
about it.
what we're getting, and I didn't realize that it went to a scholarship. So that might change my position on that, but there must be cost for the dinner.
Yeah. Harry, did you want to say something about this?
Yeah, I've done both. I've
Yep.
gone to the Martin Luther King dinner and had the town pay for it, and there's been years where I paid for it myself. I would hate to see a counselor not be able to go because they can't afford it. That certainly would be wrong. Maybe it ought to just be left to the conscience of the counselor themselves.
Well, I mean, I'm definitely going to go. I have no problem paying. I understand your point, Bonnie, so.
I went a couple of years ago, and the town paid for it, but they didn't pay for the wife.
Yeah, that makes sense. Sure.
Boy, did they pay for my wife.
Sure. Okay.
And I don't mean to include, like, if the town manager's going to attend. I mean, I think if that shouldn't be excluded. I mean, I think we should pay for him. Because I think they pay, don't they pay for the staff, Nikki? It would cover, are you attending?
Yeah, I believe so. I haven't checked the schedule to see if that means.
We
Cover.
report out of the town's budget, yes.
And what do you think about the CCM?
I think we should play it by ear, and
Okay.
I think we have time.
Okay.
And so,
Fair
I
enough.
think that you and Harry got value out of it, and
Yeah, we did.
so, okay. Greg.
All right, I became aware that I guess the city's looking for around $15,000 to participate with our consultant that's trying to draft a TIF policy, specifically in the city for 5 Corners and Thames Street, which I think we're all going to be winners if, we can develop that area, both the town and the city would benefit. So I'd like a referral to look at contributing to the city, for our TIF policy to cover the 5 Corners and Thames Street.
I think it's great. I mean, I read your report, John, and I think it was mentioned in the report or an email.
Yeah, we had budgeted for the first 2 districts being the 117, 184, and then Route 1, but nothing was budgeted towards doing districts in the city there. And then the idea came up of doing those. And I do know at their COW meeting last night, they recommended moving forward with funding themselves $15,000.
Yeah.
Certainly a nice gesture, though, council's interested in.
Well, I mean, I think that's, I don't think it should be lost that the city is part of the town. And if there's development that comes down on Thames Street or at Five Corners or anywhere in the city, it benefits everybody.
Right,
And
staff
so,
feels it's worthwhile for those districts.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So, I would agree with that as well. We would have to figure out where to find the money. Is that the, or take it out of contingency? That would be the. Okay. Okay, so maybe you can look at it and we can discuss it at the next meeting. Sure, sure.
Can I give, while we have a quick minute, I've been asked earlier about the, having the fire department's practice over there at the Wells Road. I think it's a Wells Road site, right?
Transfer station, right?
The transfer station.
Yeah, not, well, yeah, the Planners Road.
I had when I first got here, I had talked to Gary Schneider about it. He put together something for me. And then I was hoping, here's what it, we've run into a couple of issues with that being, there is part of the closure plan and permit issued by Connecticut Department of Energy and Environmental Protection to close the landfill. Any other use to have to modify the permit with deep. The areas identified in the town's debris management plan, Annex H to the Comprehensive Emergency Management Plan is debris management site. That's where we put materials in case of a big storm, that kind of thing. So we'd have to look at that. And then we also, the department must monitor the areas for our stormwater permit, industrial, it's an industrial site. Any modification to the site also requires working with DEEP to update the plans. So there was a little bit of, so what I was hoping at the time was, I got to know our property more and what we own, that maybe something else would come to light that would be easier to use. But just to let you know, it has been looked at, and I'll talk further with
I thought I had heard, Dean, that one of the reasons it wasn't a good site was because there's no accessible water. And you say you're I don't know what you say, you're lighting a controlled fire or whatever, but there's no water there to put it out, except from the trucks that would be there. But I thought I heard that I thought it was in a fire.
I couldn't say, but if I have, a fire chief and a deputy fire chief express interest in using this site, I gotta think that they thought of the water thing first.
Yeah, no, I know it's come up a couple of times, but yeah, I'm just.
I'd certainly like to provide space for it is. And I mentioned in my last report to you that we're going to provide opportunity for them to do some trainings at the Fitch Middle School, and we'll try to help them and work with them wherever we can.
Okay.
But I'll continue to look at it.
Thank you. Are you guys ready for? Do you have a referral for us?
We hope so. We went back and took a look at the information regarding the cost of making some increases on the non-union police pension. And there's one section in the police pension program that talks about there being a $3,000 addition for things like longevity and sick incentive. In addition, in that same paragraph, it talks about there being an opportunity to use up to $3,000 as an overtime replacement. So under that paragraph, the non-union police individuals would get a bump of $6,000, up to $6,000 total. We went and tried to look and see, well, what could we do on the overtime replacement to make it a little bit more comparable to what is occurring on the union side. So we sought to increase that one $3,000 number on the overtime. Said, well, what if we bump that up to 10, or what if we bump that up to 15, or what if we bump that up to 20? And the analysis, the cost analysis that we got back on that reflected that if we bumped that $3,000 number up to $15,000, so added in $12,000, the cost would be roughly $12,500 that would be added in to the cost for the pension on a go-forward basis. The confusion that came up when we heard when Deb read some of the materials regarding what the potential motion was, is that it reflected that it was a move to $15,000 in total, so that $3,000 for the sick incentive, et cetera, and the overtime. So it's certainly possible, if you would like to do that, to wrap those two things up and put the end at 15. that would result in a slightly lesser delta between the lieutenants and the captain. It would also reduce the cost somewhat that Tim referenced, because the initial cost estimate looked at a $12,000 increase, and now, to get to 15, but now it would really only be a $9,000 increase. So that amount would be somewhat less than $12,500. I don't want to speculate off the top of my head what it would be, but I can say that it's less than that. So that's where we ran into, I apologize, a little bit of confusion as to really what the motion should say, because it could say either one of those things. It could propose to increase specifically the overtime from $3,000 to $15,000, or it could say to increase the combined overtime and sick incentive, longevity, et cetera, from $6,000 to $15,000. So that's where I hope that makes some sense, and I'm going to let Bob explain a little bit about his concern on the sick time, or just a clarification on that.
Right. In the, when we wrote the background data, or I wrote the background data, basically it mirrors the same exact verbiage that's in the union contract with non-union police, and that is that they do get a contribution of that same sick time, the way it's outlined here. The non-union get that also. So that's also calculated.
Really 23?
Yeah. So that's also calculated.
So is this something that we can have for our next COW meeting and have a resolution set for that, and we can sort it all out? Doesn't that have to be done tonight, correct?
No, we can make that,
Okay.
provide those options for you. I think it's really those two options in terms of, is it going from $3,000 on overtime to $15,000, or is it going from a combined $6,000 using the sick incentive and longevity and overtime to $15,000?
What are your two of your recommendations? Oh, sorry.
Greg, then Bonnie, I'm sorry.
So are we just doing it like a pen and ink, so to speak, on their retirement contract, their pension contract? Are we coming up with a whole new?
No, this is all within the same paragraph. It's all within the same paragraph that it talks about. There's a $3,000 addition for these types of benefits, sick incentive, longevity, and there's education, and then there's a $3,000 add-in for overtime, or for the lost opportunity for overtime.
No, I know, but we're making a change. We want to make a change to it.
That's within your
right. So does that mean, that resets that pension contract?
Well, this is non-union, so
Right.
there's not.
Just a policy.
It's just a. Yeah.
So it's just a policy. So there's nothing else in there that we want to consider while we're doing that?
Honestly, off the top of my head, I couldn't tell you
Okay.
off the top of my head. It certainly may be something that you would like to look at,
I don't think we
but
want
I
to
can't
do
say.
anything on the non-union street.
Okay.
Bonnie?
I just want to know if the two of you agree on one is better than the other, and we could make the motion tonight.
I'm in agreement with the one we just did.
I'm comfortable with either. I can say that the one where you added on again to the overtime specifically, as opposed to the combination of them, will provide you with a little more cushion, and hopefully you won't be addressing this type of issue again.
Karen?
I'm going to make the motion once again to modify the retirement plan for non-union police to change the $3,000 add-in for overtime to $15,000.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Go ahead, Diane.
So how much more is that going to be? Is it
That was the
9,000 or 12,000?
No, that was the original amount that Tim had analyzed and we had presented, about $12,500.
So, I'm sorry, so Karen just moved option A.
The one that,
Correct.
That was your original
correct,
intent,
just on the
was
overtime.
option A.
Or that was
But
what
you
we originally
realized
costed out,
The
yes.
math was not, it was more than 15 total.
Correct.
So yes, I am
Yep.
willing to support Karen's number, because that was the original intent of our discussion earlier.
Okay. Diane?
I have to understand this.
You had at first said that it was 3,000 for longevity and another 3,000 for overtime replacement and sick incentive, right?
Actually,
That
it
they were
was-
already getting?
In their union, non-union agreement already, there's $3,000 set aside for, up to $3,000, for sick incentive, longevity, and certain education credits. Separate from that, there's the overtime replacement provision that talks about up to $3,000, or excuse me, $3,000 as replacement for the overtime that they're not able to work being in this capacity.
Just, you know, they do work probably as many hours as people who work in the overtime. They work a lot of extra hours.
So the calculation that was costed out through the actuary was based on increasing just that $3,000 overtime amount, you know, to different amounts.
You're not throwing the other 3,000 in?
Separate, right.
So how much is it going to cost the town per person? You're thinking about 12,500?
This is not per person. This is the cost going forward with under the pension to cover the 3 positions that are there. So it's the non-union, all the non-union.
It's not a dollar for dollar type of
No.
thing. Because you apply the factor to the salary, so it's a reduced amount.
It's for 3 people. Oh, yeah, no, I know.
All right, if there's no further discussion, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? That passes 9 to 0 to 0.
Thanks for your patience.
Thank you. We've already tackled other business. Yes, Bonnie?
I would like to make a motion.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn? We're adjourned.